Well, this is not our first rodeo doing this.
It's not.
It's not for both of us in both of these positions.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so fun. So how many years ago? We were on a podcast together 3 years ago? About?
I don't even know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
It was a whole different time. Just to put in context, Ryan was doing landscaping at the time. No, this was like his first gig.
Yeah, Ryan just started landscaping because
Right?
you guys were like, Ryan, promote your landscaping business. And he was like, no, like I was not expecting this. And I was like, wait, I need landscaping.
This is perfect.
Can we chat?
This is just how it all works.
Yeah.
And also do the podcast. So yeah, that was a whole kind of, well, we were both in just very different places, different careers. So you were consulting back then.
Yeah.
And we had you on about that whole business. And I just feel like there's been so many different checkpoints for us along like kind of our journeys of where we landed. And it's like so funny because we go like way back.
Way back.
And a lot of people don't realize there's so many nice connections with like these very like core memories of like things that have happened. And we've never been like the closest of friends in terms of our circles, but we've always just been like in each other's lives.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
We started at Neuchâtel. We met. And if no one knows what Neuchâtel is, it's a private school in Switzerland. And you live with a French or pension family. Is everyone's French?
Yeah. Well, they're Swiss.
Yeah, they're Swiss. Yeah.
They're
like everyone. But I spoke French to my, like, did you speak French with your pension?
Yeah, it was like, we were in the French part of Switzerland. So
yeah, everyone did. But I'm like just blanking if I was the only kid. I came from French immersion. I was like, did all those kids in the program, everyone spoke French to some degree? I guess.
I think so. I think it was, some people didn't speak French as well. And it was a little bit more challenging if they're pension only.
No, my
French.
roommate actually, Heather, did. Do you remember Heather? She did it and it was challenging. Like our pension was kind of like, he was kind of mean. And like he would speak in French at the table and I'm like, yo, girlfriend can't speak French. And he was like nobody gave a shit. He just like went on with his like aviation story. I'm like, okay. But that was a wild time. We were how old? Like 16?
We were
16 running around Europe. So. It was amazing. It was a good education, but it was just like more fun than anything.
It really was.
And then we landed at McGill.
Yeah.
Because Zoe and I were both there, different programs. Once again, different lives. We were just laughing. Upper res versus new res.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of a different experience, but great. McGill, Montreal's just the best.
Yeah, it is.
It just, you feel, I don't know. I had whole friends that went to every different type of school, as I'm sure you did as well. But it was good times. It
was the good time school.
Yeah.
I feel
like we were 18 at Frosh. Molson was like, we were just doing things ahead of the times. Yeah. We could. Yeah, we could.
Yeah. I mean, I now live in the world of wellness, but like we were 18 and that was the drinking age in Quebec. So it was a great time.
It was a great time. So we landed there and then back in Toronto, I guess 20 years later, but both doing different things. And it's just so interesting to see kind of where people land and how they get there. And I want to give you an opportunity now to kind of just like introduce yourself and, you know, our personal connection, where we land, but where you've kind of evolved in your whole journey and where kind of schooling left off and where you've gone since. Because it's been quite an interesting path for you. And I love that you've tied so many of these, well, it seems like your passions or kind of where you've been educated and now have a lot of interest into your life or woven it through, even though you've done different things and followed different leads. So how did this kind of journey start for you after McGill and, you know, schooling? You obviously went off to what? Tell me a little bit about what happened and how you landed here.
So my mom started a nonprofit about 25 years ago that diverts youth out of the criminal justice system. It's like all focused on restorative justice. It's really basically like kids get into trouble in school and then they end up like in the court system and with really like poor outcomes when they're kids and they're just behaving like kids.
And so, they have no resources.
100%. And so the whole organization is really focused on then like, instead of just like taking the punitive route, working with those kids to be like, okay, what happened? Why did it happen?
Right.
Understanding the impact of their actions and then like figuring out how to get those kids engaged in positive activities and like back into their community and back into their schools and all of those things so that instead of like going down the road that will land them eventually probably in jail.
In the back same where they were, right?
Yeah.
And getting in trouble.
They can like go back to school and thrive.
Got it.
So
that makes a little more sense now in terms of how that all came. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What's the name of the organization?
It's called Peace Builders.
Okay.
It's an amazing organization. And so I had been really involved in like supporting the organization, fundraising.
Yeah.
I would work in the summers, like running youth programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I came out of McGill wanting to do communications. So I'm like looking for jobs.
Yeah.
And my mom at the same time really kind of just needed hands on deck. And so she was like, hey, like, can you just come to Peace Builders and help
right
while you're looking.
Okay.
Keep looking, and then
But just like, here, I need some help. You'd be great. Let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I started working with her and then ended up just loving what I was doing. I stopped looking for other jobs and I worked with her for, I don't know, probably a year and a half or 2 years.
Very cool.
So while I was doing that, I decided I wanted to do an MBA. And so I was like studying for the GMAT and I was like going to go back to school, do consulting. And at some point I had this, and like this is kind of a thread through all of it. Like at some point I had this deep intuitive like moment of knowing that I needed to go to law school, which was really weird because
where you were,
of where I was, and because both of my parents are lawyers and I grew up with people telling me I was going to be a lawyer and I was like, I am absolutely not, like not interested. I saw my parents working so hard and like they
You're
love
like, that ain't for me.
Not for me.
Not for me. Yeah.
It turned out I didn't know actually how much I like to work and that I was going to work harder.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel appealing. And so I was like such a hard no on it for so long. And I had, now I can describe it in this way. I don't know if I would have at the time, but I just like had this knowing and I came home and I was like, I'm going to law school. Like I'm not studying for the GMAT anymore. And so
big shift,
huge shift. And so I kind of like took that turn, went to law school, thinking that I wanted to do something in the criminal space, like really inspired by my work at Peace Builders. And then took a whole other turn, went the corporate route, really kind of felt like it was like, okay, well, you know, I should get the training and get a really like broad experience and then I can do anything. So I went like
after you graduated from law school.
Yeah. So
did you ever practice in law?
Yeah. I went to a Bay Street firm.
Okay.
I practiced commercial litigation, a little more broad than that. Like I had a broad litigation practice. So I did commercial litigation, employment, defamation, competition, like a whole bunch of stuff, but all in the litigation field. And I did that at a big firm. I spent some time at a bank doing securities litigation. And then I moved to a litigation boutique. I kind of like was moving around because it was clear in each place that something was off. Yeah.
And it clearly sounds like you have such a big bandwidth. You're obviously a very bright, entrepreneurial, kind of savvy-minded girl that you could really land yourself in. Like, oh, I was studying for GMATs and I decided, like, that's incredible. Like, even in that self that you have the bandwidth to do that. So then to be in all these different positions and then to be able to just trust that intuition to say, this might not make any sense right now to anyone else, but I'm going to listen to myself and go.
100%. And that is the story of my whole career path. Like, if you look at what I did and the kind of course of it, it really doesn't make sense.
It wouldn't have if you could have been like my tenure. So this is interesting because a lot of people do this, right? Well, what's going to be like where I'm going 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to be goal-oriented where you're at in that moment and to be present. But the rigidity of like where we have to and how we used to have to live is so not what it is anymore.
Yes.
And the beautiful part of being able to be transient with your career and relationships and life now, it's like really, it's allowing people, I think, to live into their purpose. Where back in the day you were in one field and, you know, it was hard. It was hard to be more mobile. So
I really agree.
It's cool. So then that's other point of intuition. You're practicing law and you're like, this ain't it either.
So I do like the big firm, I do the bank, I do the boutique, and I'm like,
no,
it's not this.
No.
I know it's not this.
Yeah.
So, and I think for me, like up until that point, it had been so intellectually challenging. It was like a new problem to solve every day. So I actually really loved it. It's not like I never liked it, but eventually I was like, oh, I'm spending the majority of my time in an office alone, reading and writing, and that's actually not doing it for me.
I hear you. It was like you lost that connectivity. Like there was so many components of it that was engaging and thrilling and like you felt accomplished, but you didn't feel fulfilled.
For sure. I mean, this is kind of like a sidetrack a little bit, but I think it's relevant, is like I was diagnosed with ADD at like 15.
Okay.
And before that, I would say it kind of changed at that point.
Okay.
I was like always that kid in class. So like my parents would come home from parent-teacher interviews and my sister, who is an angel and a superstar and like graduated with the highest marks in her class, would be like, oh, Julia, like amazing job. And then we would go to the formal living room and have a sit down every time. And they would be like, we don't understand. All of your teachers say you have so much potential. But like, why are you the class clown? Why are like I got sent to the principal's office more times than anything for laughing in class, which I can appreciate was disruptive.
Yeah.
But and so I think there was also I know there was like this deep part of me that like felt like I needed to prove something and that I could like tick all of these boxes and do all of the things and achieve and like, go and work at the big firm and all of it. And so there was also a huge part of that kind of started to unravel. And I remember actually just before I left sitting in a boardroom at the law firm I was at, a friend of mine had talked to me about this intuitive person who she was speaking to. And I was like, I don't know, I kind of feel inspired to do this. But this was like kind of not me at the time. And so I booked a boardroom at the law firm because I was like, I don't want someone to just come into my office while I'm on the phone with a psychic. Like that's kind of weird.
You're like blind down. This is going down. Like, Mama's figuring out what to do with her life. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I'm on, I don't know, the 35th floor. I'm looking out over like Lake Ontario and like this beautiful view in this beautiful office building. And this intuitive woman who I've never met or spoken to before is like, you are looking around at all of your friends and like thinking, wow, they've made it. And like, when am I going to make it? And like, when am I going to be successful? And she was like, you are, but you can't see it for yourself. And this is actually not the path for you. And I was like, first of all, box of Kleenex, full tears flowing. Like I was like,
something hit like a chord and
it hit so hard. And she told me either in that conversation or our next that within the next 3 to 6 months, I was going to leave law on my own terms. And I was like, I totally wrote it off. I was like, there's no way. Like,
like that's a big life change, lady.
Huge life change. I'm still loving what I'm doing in this moment. And I kind of forgot about it. Some people I think that, that will happen. And then, she planted the seed.
No, I was going to say exactly. And then it's top of mind. And then what came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's like, is this I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, no, I'm a very strong-willed person. And I was like, you're probably right. At some point, I think I will leave law, but it's not anytime soon. And within that next 3 to 6 month period, it actually became untenable to do my job. Like I couldn't, there were things about it that I loved and totally could do. Like I could get on a phone with a client and negotiate a settlement and like the human engagement component of it, I loved. And then like I would have to like write a brief and I'm like sitting there looking at a blank computer screen being like, I
can't do that.
I can't do it. And like I can, like I know I'm capable of it. I've been doing it, but I actually can't do it anymore. And like
you're like, it was a disconnect between like your brain and your body.
Complete disconnect. And so it was almost this, like I think about it and in my coaching, I've talked to people about it as this point of no return. Sometimes you're kind of not sure and you're in a career and you're like, I don't think this is the thing for me, but you can stick it out and figure out what the next thing is.
Totally.
And sometimes you reach this point of no return where there's just no coming back from it. I couldn't continue. Yeah. And so I left.
You left.
Yeah.
And you left to start something that you knew was going to be this coaching consulting business, but you had never done any, like it was all fresh.
Yeah.
It was just from this intuitive feeling like this wasn't it. You spoke to someone, it validated kind of everything that was happening and you were out.
Yeah. And so I was working with an executive coach.
Yeah.
Initially, like, because I wanted to be, the best at what I was doing.
Of course. Yeah.
And I couldn't actually action the things that we were talking about. It was like a part of what created this picture of the disconnect for me. And so when he said to me, okay, great, you're leaving. What do you want to do? I said, I want to be a coach. But I didn't actually know that was what was going to come out of my mouth. I hadn't thought about it.
Right.
And as I started having conversations with like my inner circle, they were like,
that
of
makes
course
sense.
you're going to be a coach. You kind of already are one.
Right. That's like kind of what you do for everyone in your like probably small world anyways. It's just like you might as well make it a profession.
Yes.
Type of thing. Exactly.
Totally that.
Yeah.
And so I started taking steps towards building a coaching practice. I did a whole ton of training, coaching, conflict resolution coaching, leadership development, like all kind of just like immersed myself in all of that. And then at the same time had the opportunity to open a wax on laser and wax bar franchise.
Yes.
Again, like kind of a random turn.
Right.
Unexpected,
Right.
not...
I kind of almost forgot about that with the franchise with Wax On. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another connection through New
Through
Chatel,
Chatel.
Lexi, and she's killing it. I'm so proud of her. She's doing such a good job.
I am too.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's fun. So you
Okay,
partnered up with her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because, like, what in the is beauty just something? Was that anything in that space, or was it just kind of Lexi and knowing her and?
Okay, so at the time, I was like, this is super random. In hindsight, my law school roommate and bestie, Katie, was like, it's not actually random at all. When we were in Australia, you would always go to this wax bar in the mall that was just like really like clean, easy, convenient, good. And every time you would go, you would be like, this is crazy that we don't have this at home. Like somebody needs to build it. And which is true, but I had kind of forgotten about that.
Funny.
So I really, for those reasons, obviously loved what Lexi had built.
Yeah.
And I loved the culture that she had created. That was such a huge part of it for me, is that every time, especially as a busy lawyer, I would go to whatever location I was closest to and to whoever had time. Like I didn't have a dedicated person I would see. So every time I would have these new conversations with new estheticians, and like consistently everybody talked about how much they loved Lexi, how much they loved Wax On, how much they loved working for the company.
I worked right up the street. I'd pop in, little vag wax. Everyone had nothing but the best things to say. I was in and out in 15 minutes. I never had a girl that I specifically saw. And it was like, it's a well-oiled machine, what she's figured out.
Completely. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And again, the intuitive hits like wouldn't stop. I was like, Wax On King West. Like, I feel like there needs to be a Wax On in King West. And it kind of kept happening. And then a friend one day was like, hey, I wasn't listening. Like, this is actually the thing, is I wasn't paying attention to it. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Or you're just pushing it down. It was there. You're listening, but you're not acting on it.
Exactly. That's true. And then a friend was like, hey, would you want to open a Wax On together? And I was like, no, I actually just want to open a Wax On myself. So that was kind of it. I went to her and I was like, King West, can I open a franchise? And she said, well, actually, we're already in really far in conversation with someone else who wants to be a franchise partner. We have a space at King and Spadina. I think it's unlikely that they're going to drop out, but if they do, the space is yours.
Okay.
And so I kind of started through the franchise process, but I wasn't committed to having a franchise. I was really committed to, I could see that there was such an opportunity at King West. And so that was
right.
And they dropped out. And
once again, just alignment.
Everything aligned. And so I took the space and I opened my first Wax On, and at the same time still had kind of my coaching practice, which I was building.
Yeah.
And then I opened a second Wax On in Yorkville Village.
Yeah.
And again, kind of still the coaching practice going on. But I had managers in these locations and really was making sure that they could run without me.
Independently, you were doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's 2 franchises.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this opportunity kind of falls from the sky.
Yeah.
About going back into a law firm and working on the operations side. And I was like, this, for whatever reason, again, feels right. I wasn't looking for a job. I never thought, someone had asked me a few weeks before, would you ever go back into law? And I was like, you couldn't pay me $1 million. Like, no.
Okay.
And this opportunity comes up and I'm like, well, it's not paying me $1 million. And I think I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And so I covered a year-long mat leave that turned into a 1.5 leading learning and development at like one of the national firms.
Okay.
And then I moved at the end of the mat leave. We worked together, created a new role for me. I led associate performance management and equity initiatives and really like took a coaching approach to all of that. So I was like coaching the associates and working with them and really supporting them to develop practices that they could get excited about.
It was like a blend of what you've done in the past. So it wasn't just, so that feels great.
And so, it's been this like really kind of like winding road that at the time, up until this point, I would have said to you, it doesn't really make sense. My career path doesn't really make sense, except that I've followed these kind of intuitive nudges into every...
And your skill sets that have like kind of taken from one thing to the next. It's not like you went then to be like an ER doctor, like they're in the same vein world, but it was kind of different spaces, right? That you've learned then to apply. Like you're very malleable, it sounds like. So
yeah. But while I was at this law firm, again, like kind of the operations side of things, I was coaching, and I share that because I have permission. I was coaching my co-founder, Tanya, and she at some point came to me and she knew she wanted to get out of corporate real estate, and she knew she wanted to get out of that, and she knew that she wanted to do something in health and wellness, and she wasn't exactly sure what it was.
Right.
And so
she's like talking to you about all these things and you're like, okay.
Yeah, it didn't actually hit until one day she had gone on a run in Miami. She had this full download of her vision for Trove. And she came to me on our next coaching call and was like, I know the thing that I'm going to do. And she basically described to me verbatim the vision that I had been describing to Adam.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I was like,
once again, alignment.
Okay.
And how much later was this after you'd had that original conversation with your husband? Was it like 6 months or like it wasn't that much time? Like where it was like.
No, I had been talking to Adam about this for years because every time I would come home and it would be like, I'm coming home from the naturopath, but then tomorrow I have my massage. I was like, why?
Running around. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was like, this is so crazy.
Yeah, I feel you.
And I would go every year. And this kind of started in about 2016 also to Nosara in Costa Rica and have a full week to 2 weeks of like a reset for myself, which was amazing. But I kind of, it was this combination of always the running from here to there, not being able to necessarily find the things that I wanted or like the magical practitioners that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And then going to Nosara and being able to have it all in one place and be like, can we create some version of this?
Right. It's out there. Like, and to be honest, so many of these things in the space, once you're in it, when you're experiencing, when you've done a lot of these transitions and you realize what you're looking for, everyone's touching upon it, but in different ways. And in Toronto, it's all spread out. We don't even have anywhere. There's a few things outside the city that you can go to, but if you're not going to Costa Rica or I don't know, Montana or Arizona, you're not getting these like real, just these experiences that exist that we should be able to have as services in Toronto, being a metropolitan city, that these offerings should be here.
Yeah.
You're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, right? Yeah. And that defeats the purpose of what's going. If you're going from your acupuncture appointment to your, I don't know, intuitive massage and you're stressed the fuck out because to get to 8, you know what I mean? It kind of defeats the purpose of it all, right?
Fully.
So I get it.
Yeah. So as soon as that happened, we both just kind of knew and we got into action and we started working towards the building of Trove. Cool. And I can now say, looking back at all of it, I so understand why every piece was there. Like I needed the legal background. I needed the operations background from Wax On. I needed the people management component from the firm. Like I needed every single piece that I had has been such an important foundation of the building of this.
Right. It's like this master plan that you didn't know was sitting in your back pocket.
Yeah.
What most people don't do, what you are doing or what I'm doing and putting myself out there a lot of the times is because they don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Like the unknown is so much scarier than taking, that risk right in that moment. And if you can take that leap and just believe in yourself, if you feel like you're doing good in the world and you're living up to your honor or whatever, that's there. You just don't know it. And so that's just such a beautiful example of like, you had to fully trust these little inklings or strong inklings along your journey that didn't make sense, but the knowing was so clear that now you can actually have perspective of why each of those things works.
For sure.
And like, that's just not something that you like. Those are the type of life lessons that they're like on your deathbed. Like, what could you wish, those insights that I think people, if they were able to have more of those during their days and their weeks and their months and their lives, and they don't have to live with such regret. They're like really living into their truth. And like, that's why I'm so happy you're on this podcast. That's what I'm aiming to do myself. That's why I want to sit down before my next entrepreneurial journey. I was in the same boat that I was jumping around from this or that. I also have ADD, but I didn't realize my kind of symptoms until an adult. And now even having to deal with it and what to go on. It's like the bandwidth and how I operate, like I'm understanding myself so through such a different lens now. And it's like my weaknesses are my strengths. And for me, trying to understand where I've landed and having like this podcast and everything, it's like everything has made sense for me. It's just if you don't take that pause and like listen to yourself or understand how you got there, you'll never see it like that.
Yeah.
Like, there can be so many opportunities that just go by completely missed if you just don't take that opportunity to look at it a little bit differently. And my burnout was exactly the same in so many different reasons that I kept on landing myself in different positions where, and we probably talked about this when I came to ask you for advice. I was consulting with you because I knew that I had so much passion and so much creativity. I just didn't know where it should land.
Yeah.
And not feeling grounded when you have all these downloads and you want to trust your intuition and you're feeling highly creative is really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you can also, in this practice, and we can go into some of these things at Trove because we just went Liv and I, and I'm just so excited about it. But you can also be vulnerable and you can be, so it's like a really to be helping someone in their healing journey and through transitions, you have to be, it's a very vulnerable, precious space, which I've learned. And there's this push and pull between helping and giving resources to people, but also letting them find their journey on their own. And I think a lot of that is just allowing people to experience these practices, these things that are a little bit outside their comfort zone that they didn't even know they have access to.
Yeah.
And that's for me where I landed with Trove. I immediately felt like I wasn't in fight or flight anymore.
Yeah.
Like I literally was like, like I sat down in that chair and I was there and I was just like, like she brought me my form. I'm so fucking annoyed. I have to fill in all the things. I'm like, I don't care. And I was just like, I was like, da, 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 da. And like, everyone's like talking. So like, and now you go here. And I'm like, of course I'm going here. Like, it was just like, I was following this like mood around, and we did really like great treatments that I hadn't done. I loved the lymphatic body suits. They were amazing. It felt like the pressure I needed on my body that I've never, like, I just wanted all that pressure. I kept on being the live. I'm like, does it go harder? This feels so good. Like my blood's never been pumped this way. I'm like, keep it coming. And then when we went into the crystal room, like I love heat. So all of those, it's like the pink, what are the crystals again?
It's a Himalayan salt.
A Himalayan salt cave.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is this? And we lied on these Himalayan salt mats in the heat that were heated. We fully both passed out.
Yeah.
We were so relaxed, but not like a groggy sleep where you wake up feeling, I was like, you felt energetically different in that room.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
The mats they're called healthy wave mats. They are made of crystal, and so there's crystal in the mat, and then they have PEMF, which is like pulse electromagnetic field, photon, like there's light therapy. There's like so many things that are going on. The mat itself is grounding and energizing, like it's doing really amazing things for your cells.
Yeah, she was explaining that.
And then the salt is amazing for your respiratory system, but it also mimics being in nature. So the whole experience is actually like this incredibly grounding experience that it's hard to explain to someone. People are like, why would I go to the salt cave? And my answer is like, you just have to try it.
Yeah, like I have grounding sheets and I have a grounding yoga mat and I lie in my gym and do it. It's not the same. Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. I can hold my crystals and stuff, but this was a whole experience. Like, and just even the way you set it up, like we did a couples one just because we wanted to do it together. So it was really fun. And then we went in the cold plunge. Like I kind of like, this is not against any other ship or anything. I just don't like want to be doing that with other people for some reason. Like I just want to be going into it alone. Like I don't someone want to keep on going. Like I don't want to be my spirit animal. I don't know why. I just want to be doing that thing alone. And like if I want to get out 10 seconds, I don't know. It feels very intimate to me. But so I loved it because we were in there and I'm like, I could just go and do it. And then I go just right in the shower. It was like this little like, I don't know, triangle of wellness in that little room. And I only have a wet steam, so I liked being in the sauna. It was just, and then the kicker, the end. We signed up for a 60-minute. I was getting a deep tissue, I thought, and I left being like, that was the most insane. I don't even know what just happened in that room. It was Eastern, Western, holistic. I don't know. It was just healing. As soon as my neck was touched and these pressure points, I was like, I've never had a massage that felt so connected to my body. Like, I think we're going to look back in 20 years being like, what the fuck were we doing? We weren't even looking and touching and doing these things and like looking inside and under, you know what I mean? Like now when you're looking at medicine, it's so funny with all these practices and things that we know about, like that we just weren't considering. And I'm one of those people that loves information. And like, the more I understand about myself, the more like applicable things can be, right? So he's telling me about all these different treatments because of my foot, but it's rooted in my neck and like touching things that I've like, I honestly have never been touched like that in my life in like the most professional like way possible. And I'm going back next Wednesday because when you find a provider, what am I calling him?
Practitioner.
A practitioner.
Yeah.
That is that insane. I want to like also ask you about how you go about finding these people because every touch point was like, everyone was exceptional. So hiring, I know for a business is very challenging. And like coming into the wellness space was finding these staff difficult and also finding what programs you wanted to incorporate. I want to ask that because I feel like that was like, there's things that you would think about being in Toronto, what would work here, and then things that actually people maybe surprise you or gravitating towards, you know, based on what you didn't think about. So I just kind of want to hear about that.
Interestingly, figuring out what to bring together wasn't actually that hard. We were really aligned on what we wanted to exist there. And it was really bringing together as many modalities as possible under one roof. So we have massage therapy, facials, Reiki, acupuncture, osteopathy, naturopathy. Then we have our studio space that's focused on nervous system regulation that has meditation, sound baths, breath work, yin, restorative
I didn't get
yoga.
To see that space. And do you do classes there?
Yeah, they are. I'll give you recommendations.
A sound bath class.
They're incredible. Again, we'll get to the practitioners next, but everyone is amazing. And then there is the solo journey. So there's the sauna cold plunge, the lymphatic compression suits, the red light therapy, and the salt cave. And then we have an IV lounge that's like registered nurses administering vitamin and nutrient IVs and vitamin like booster shots. And we knew that we wanted, and then we actually have a journaling nook because
I saw that. That's so sweet. I love that.
Well, it really so the whole space was designed to promote nervous system regulation, from the sounds to the colors to the lighting to the
and just everyone know it's very
everything.
Like moody in there. You actually feel like you're walking in. It's like that feeling for me, at least when I go into Jaybird. I'm just like the darkness. It's the warmth, cozy. It's like it feels safe. Your nervous system feels safe.
Yeah,
when you walk in.
Yeah, and it was designed that way. And so for so many people, there aren't a ton of spaces that were created in that way. No. And so many people come in the way that you did, where you were like, it just feels like we get that all the time because people don't really
know. Like, where am I? I'm going into the Four Seasons lobby, up that elevator, and then like just awkwardly seeing someone I know and walking into that little room. Like, that's not it.
Yeah,
that ain't it.
It's
where
not
else am I going? Like there's nowhere that I'm going that like I'm walking in and like bam, you've done like you've created a concept that would have been like a resort, but you made it into a small business. Like those types of things would have been offered with like accommodations, and you've been able to narrow it down to just doing the services in and out.
Yeah.
Which is like really smart from a business perspective too, because I've top level looked at just doing some things in the wellness space. And the biggest thing is if you're going to offer accommodations, you have to know that is hospitality now. That is a whole other ballgame. Like,
it really is.
Never mind the longevity part and that bringing that together. And I was like, this is over my like pay grade right now. Like, I'm like, I have no idea. It was just so out of my depth. But you've done something really. You've taken away that and kept it to services, and it's condensed. It's all in one roof,
all under one roof, and we were committed to best in class of everything, because a part of our pain point was like, okay, if I'm finding the best in class naturopath, the best in class massage therapist, I'm going to one side of the city, I'm going to the other side of the city. Like, you'll go to one clinic, they have one person who's amazing, but everyone else is okay. And so our commitment was every person who comes and is a practitioner or a facilitator or anything at Trove is the best at what they do.
Okay.
And we're looking for people who everyone is going to leave saying, I had a transformative healing experience and everybody needs to know about it.
Like Liv and I booked the same thing and walked out with two totally different experiences, based on like customizable. And that's the thing, it's personalized.
Yeah.
Felt like an easy place to also pop into. Like I did a 3-hour, 4-hour thing last week, but now I'm going back for my one service because it was really effective and I need to work on that area.
Yeah.
I'm like a big fan. I think that you're offering something that not a lot of people are. And I just feel like it's very cool that you've like honored your own integrity and like followed your journey and wherever that's taking you now and listening to those like instincts and just keep it up. Like, I feel like it's really inspiring for me because I don't know what's around the corner. And I see another young professional that has so much ambition and so much you're so wonderful. You have so much to give and to figure out how to give, but also how it works for you and how you can receive it too. And really just put that out there is quite exceptional. So I feel like your grounding energy has been brought into my house and I'm feeling like a lot more, I don't know, just confident in my decisions, truthfully, because it's like, I don't know. Everyone's like, you're doing a podcast. My son goes to me this morning. Xander goes, hey, so do you make any money at your job? He literally looked at me and goes, like a podcast, does that make money? And I like literally looked at him and I was like, well, you can. I mean, there's ads that you could do and there's things. He goes, let me ask you something. Well, if you're not making money, what are you doing? And it was like such an honest question. I was like, take a breath. I'm like, think about it. I'm like, you don't have to fight with this. This is a real innocent, honest, curious question. And I was like, mommy's trying something new right now. I'm building a brand and I'm building a business and something that feels aligned with me. And it doesn't always have certain rewards right away. And I was like trying to explain to him and like, so kind of full circle, like it was just happened this morning. And I was like, I am a loser. I don't make money off this podcast. And I am just working for free. No, but it was just like, it was that like, no, there is purpose. And everything in my life has also brought me, from McGill to my fashion pursuits to sales to my other podcasts to where I am now. I don't know what the next 10 years will be, but I do know that listening to myself and having these conversations is the right thing for me. And like, nobody else can tell me that, that's that inside thing that like we work so hard in therapy to listen to. But it's like, it's starting to become more clear. So whether it makes sense or not, I think the biggest takeaway for me and from you and for anyone listening is that just like, don't just dismiss yourself. Like, don't dismiss those little feelings. It's so easy to look around and feel, just jealous and lost and confused and overwhelmed. Like that there's so many options for you or for your kids or your family in front of you. And like, what's the right one for you?
Yeah. And there's so much comparison. Like you're looking at the person thinking like, oh, Lanny has this amazing podcast and she's probably making all this money. Zoe has this amazing wellness space. She's probably making all this money. Like FYI, no. Like everybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
It's like it becomes so glorified. Like I have poured my blood, sweat, and tears into this business that gives me a lot
of joy
and $0. Yeah. Like I've in fact put a lot of money, a lot of my dollars into this, bringing it to life.
The outcome is and if we could all just like have that as a little bit of a life lesson. Like there's so many things where it's like, if it's not the dollar sign, it's not it. And that's just not how we have to live because it's all there. The money's in the bank and people are miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this isn't to come off in like another way, like that's supposed to be in who knows, we might cut this, but like I obviously come from a place of privilege. I feel so fortunate. I wouldn't be able to be having a podcast and being able to do it for free, not making money if I wasn't in this position. But to me, that's what inspires me even more. Like I used to look at myself and like the chip on the shoulder, like, oh, like, look at me. What did I do to contribute? Like I was just given all this. It isn't about me. And I could live my whole life like that. And I've just like, there's something inside of me and seeing other people step up and lean in is like, once again, I landed here in this body, in this soul, and this place, right? And I was given what I was given. So let's fucking go. Like I want to utilize it now. I can't be looking what they're doing because it's not me. And I'm never going to be able to achieve that because they're not going to do it the same way as me. And I think that was something that gave me the confidence to just keep on going, even though I don't know what the hell necessarily I'm doing 90% of the time,
100%. And I don't think you should cut that because I actually think it's so important. Number one, for us to be able to like recognize privilege. Like I too come from a very privileged place. And also to know that we get to do something with that.
Yeah.
And
it's a responsibility in a way.
It really feels to me like it is,
Same.
Like
Same.
I think that like what can we do to give back to the community and to the world? And like what are the gifts that we have that we can now shine a light on and bring to life? And like I think about people like Melinda Gates and whatever, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. I actually in this moment I'm totally blanking on her name, but like who are making such a difference in the world with all of the money that they have. And like that is actually we need that also.
Right.
So
it's really easy to look at it with one lens. And I always just viewed my privilege and my resources as it was a sense of shame in a way. Like it caused me growing up to be different than the people around me. And it was always a sense of shame. Whereas now I'm like so proud of myself for being able to see it as an opportunity. Like I was given this opportunity to give back and to help other people in any which way I know how, whether it's through an uplifting conversation or whatever I'll end up doing down the road. It feels like it's humility, I think at the end of the day. And it's our obligation to like, not just sit there and be, greedy. I feel like society can make you really greedy too. And a lot of these perspectives people don't have unless they get there. And then once they get there, they understand that it's not about just money and wealth. It's so easy to look up and say, oh, hindsight, whatever. It's so easy for you to say that coming in your position. But there also is a lot of life lessons, seeing what's going on in this place in society where a lot of people want to be and come from. And it's not also peaches and cream, and it teaches you a lot about why to give and why other people give and why you should be giving and how to receive that. And so I don't know, I've like leaned into this situation that I'm in, and I feel very fortunate that like we've been able to pivot and do a lot of things in our life and trust that instinct. And internally that's allowed us to do things that fill our cup, which it sounds, but also give back to others. And if that secondary component, like if this was just a practice, if Trove was just for you and your partner to go and enjoy, like that would not be it. It's the fact that you get to go and hear the reviews from me and other people that have like, it's changed. It's helped heal them. It's helped, like you're contributing on such a, not even a micro level, but on such a, to help people get where they need to go. So
yeah,
good for you.
Thank you. And the thing that all just brought up for me is, so there's a spiritual teacher who I've been super into recently. Okay. His name is David Guillaume. He teaches Kabbalah. Do you know?
And he was just here. Didn't you film his podcast? Oh, he said, yeah, like I really, yes.
Okay. I feel like this piece of the conversation is actually so important for people because he talks about people who grow up with privilege and who like end up with money that they didn't earn, and how basically like our vessels have to expand to be able to hold that. And so like we need to be able to expand ourselves in order to be able to hold. And sometimes it's something that we maybe don't feel like we earned. Sometimes it's what we actually receive from doing it ourselves.
The feeling, yeah.
So we have to be able to notice, like without judgment, if for anyone who's listening to this who is in that place of shame or feeling like, oh, I didn't earn this, or I didn't do anything for this and whatever. And so then it's like Band-Aids, right? Like you're drinking or you're like shopping or you're doing whatever the thing is to try to make yourself feel better, all fueled by that shame. So without, like, if you're hearing this and you're feeling judgment for yourself about that, like let go of the judgment. It's actually totally normal that you're feeling that way. And then what do you need to do to heal that part of yourself so that you can actually welcome in everything that you have and then think about what you want to do with it?
So well said. Let that be the trigger to initiate some positive change versus like it being the trigger to be nasty to yourself in your head all day.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like those thoughts when you don't break that pattern, it's so easy to just say the negative thing to yourself. And like that talk needs to stop.
Yeah.
I really love that. That's like a really nice, beautiful place to end too. I think like I feel like I was going to ask you what gets you high on life just because that's the choosy way to end. But like, I think you've already it's that and how you've answered it. And this was such a nice, heartfelt conversation. It really keeps me so inspired in my journey and what I'm doing. I'm like really proud of you and your partner and everything that you guys have pulled together and gifted us in Toronto with. And I want more of them.
Thanks, Lan.
I want one closer. I'm like, can you come uptown? Well, anyways, I'm sure there's lots to
there is something in the works. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So very exciting. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Great.